Hello, students. Hope you are doing well. And I know many of you have been eagerly anticipating more grammar videos, specifically ones that have to do with a comma and a semicolon. So here we have a video that explains comma usage and semicolon usage. Hope you enjoy. Afterward, at some point, you will have an assessment. So please pay attention and let me know if you have any questions. So first, the video on the comma. Used to separate items in a series. Everyone pretty much knows that. Jacob's favorite foods are pizza, comma, ice cream, comma, spaghetti, comma, and squash. It is up to you whether you would want to put a comma at the end before the conjunction and. You don't need it there, but if you have it there, it's not incorrect. And what is squash doing there? I have no idea. Use semicolons to separate items in a series if there are commas within one or more of the items. For example, his favorite foods are lasagna, which he eats every Sunday, semicolon, pizza, which he likes plain, semicolon, and hamburgers. More fun, spectacular comma stuff. Used to set off independent clauses that are joined by a conjunction. When we say independent clause, that means it is independent. It could stand by itself as a complete sentence. Ryan is a smart student. This right here is an independent clause. We have our conjunction and that is why he aces all the vocabulary quizzes. They need a comma after student. Do not use a comma if the conjunction merely joins items in a series, then it's just a compound subject or compound verb. Emily is smart and does well on her papers. No comma necessary. More fun comma stuff. Use a comma to separate two or more adjectives that precede, come before the same noun. Example, the funniest, comma, smartest class is the one that is reading and listening to this right now. Do not use a comma if the last adjective is actually kind of close to being part of the noun. This might be confusing, but look at the examples. The fat mother hen clucked wildly. We stored our stuff in the big wooden chest. You would not be able to say the mother fat hen or the wooden big chest. In these examples, mother is so closely connected to hen, wooden is so closely connected to chest. It has to go in that order, no comma necessary. A couple of hints, if you are able to reverse the adjective, if it still makes sense, then you would use a comma. If it does not make sense, no comma is necessary. Also, place and between the two and see if it still makes sense. If it does, then it would take a comma. If not, no comma. You would not say the fat and mother hen or the big and wooden chest. Almost done. Use a comma to set off non-essential clauses. Non-essential clauses mean they are not necessary for the sentence to be a sentence. They kind of add extra pieces of information, kind of like the cherry on top of a sundae. Anthony, comma, who loves chess, truly believes that Mr. Geiger is the funniest teacher. Not sure what's wrong with Anthony. Nonetheless, who loves chess is a non-essential clause. If you were to eliminate that, Anthony truly believes that Mr. Geiger is the funniest teacher. That's a complete sentence. Whether or not it's accurate would be up for debate. So that's a non-essential clause, and it therefore takes commas before and after it. Do not use a comma to set off essential clauses. Essential clauses meaning that the clause is necessary, essential for the sentence to be a sentence, either subject, verb, complete thought, or the meaning of the sentence would drastically change without it. The students who are in Mr. Geiger's second period class think he is the most boring teacher. Perhaps that is quite accurate. The fact is, if you were to take out the part in bold, the entire meaning of the sentence would change. The students think he is the most boring teacher. You need that clause, who are in Mr. Geiger's second period class, for the sentence to carry its meaning. This first example is simply an added piece of information, not necessary, not essential. This example, this is an essential clause. So your hint, if the sentence makes sense without the clause is not essential, therefore it takes commas. Also, sentence interrupters. You're telling the reader, pause for a second. Tim is, comma, in fact, comma, a very mature young man. Dates take commas between the dates, the year, and also after the year. Mr. Geiger was born on December 23rd, 1974, in Abington, Pennsylvania. Also, anytime you have a town and a state listed, they need to be separated with a comma. And then also introductory phrases and clauses. When you come to English class, back in the days when you actually came to school and came to class, when you come to English class, comma, make sure your candy is put away, period, right, comma, and then you have a couple students separate their names with commas, Emily, comma, Zoe, comma, and Ryan. Okay, that's all the information you need for commas for now. But I know that was really enjoyable for you, so let's move on to the fun semicolon segment of the presentation. That would not be complete without semicolons. Again, what is a semicolon? It's a comma with a period on top. And that says to the reader, pause here a little longer than you do for a comma, but not as long as you do for a period. Primarily use semicolons between independent clauses. Again, an independent clause is something that could stand on its own as a complete sentence. If you have two independent clauses that are not joined by a conjunction, you can connect them with a semicolon. The president was concerned about the international situation. Semicolon right there, he called a special meeting of his cabinet. You would not be wrong if you put a period right there and just simply made this a new sentence. Sometimes you use a semicolon if the ideas are so closely linked, you want to use a semicolon instead of a period. Use between independent clauses joined by such words or phrases as, for example, for instance, that is, and so forth. A couple of examples. We waited in line for an hour, semicolon. However, the movie was exciting and well worth the wait. The game progressed slowly, semicolon. For example, the second inning lasted an hour. You need something stronger than a comma here to distinguish between the first clause and the second. Also, a semicolon is used when separating independent clauses of a sentence, when commas are used within the independent clause. My parents bought our home 10 years ago, comma, but now they are selling it. You have the conjunction there, so comma works. Here we have my parents bought our home, comma, a ranch house, comma, 10 years ago, and use a semicolon there, but since they now need more room, comma, they have decided to sell it. The way I always explain this, we need something stronger than a comma here. If we had a comma here, it becomes confusing to the reader. It's like a comma convention. You need something a little stronger to tell the reader, here's where the one clause ends and the next begins. Since you have a comma within the independent clauses, something stronger is needed to separate them. And if the items in a series, again, you separate items in a series with a comma, but if those items in a series contain commas already, and this is usually used with either dates or if you're listing cities and states, use a semicolon to separate each item in a series. The volcano has erupted 3 times: January 2nd, 1610, semicolon, March 15th, 1823, semicolon, and May 8th, 1945. And we'll do this in class at some point. And real quickly, a colon is the dot dot, and use that to tell the reader, note what comes next. Example, we visited 4 states last year, colon, Nevada, Idaho, Montana, and Colorado. You can also use a colon before a long formal statement or quotation. Here you see the example as well. Make sure you just put the colons after nouns. Don't put a colon after a verb or a preposition. A lot of students do that. You don't want to do that. Let me know if you have any questions. And again, you have this at your disposal to look at any time. And maybe even if you have a tough time falling asleep one night, click play, and this could do the trick. If you have any questions, let me know. And again, we will have an assessment on this at some point. And hope you enjoy the video and take care. Bye-bye.